With tattoos becoming increasingly popular, there's always going to be people who want to push the limits of what's seen as acceptable. But what happens when the excitement fades and reality sets in? Today we are going to dive into the case of the Black Alien, who took his body modifications to the absolute extreme, only to find himself questioning why he did it in the first place. So this is 36-year-old Anthony Lafredo. He's originally from France, but he spent a lot of time in Spanish-speaking countries, so the majority of his interviews are in Spanish. Anthony tracks his transformation process into what he calls the Black Alien on Instagram at the Black Alien Project. And Anthony tracks his progress through a percentage. So every time he gets a new body modification, he'll share it with his audience, and his percentage will go up and up, seemingly in hopes to get to 100% Black Alien, whatever that means to Anthony. In various posts online, Anthony has said that he began this transformation at 26 years old, meaning that he's been going through pretty consistent, extreme body modifications for the past 10 years. And a lot has happened in these past 10 years that we will get into. People are absolutely captivated when they see Anthony. They're curious as to how he lives his day-to-day life, how he even affords all of these body modifications. And most importantly, why does he do this? In an interview with the YouTuber Renee Z, Anthony said that from when he was a young child, the idea of the universe has always drawn his attention and his thoughts. So from a very young age, Anthony began envisioning himself as looking less and less human. But this transformation took a long time to actually begin. Growing up and into early adulthood, Anthony was living with his mother, and he was working a security job. He said at this time he felt really unfulfilled with his life, and he also wasn't able to explore any of the modifications that he wanted to do to his body. So he had to wait. At this time, Anthony looked like a human being, and his first tattoo actually was a portrait of a girl that he had a crush on the top of his hand.
Primer tatuaje en la mano es una cara de una chica que me gusta así.
Ya no está.
Sí, ahora no.
So that kind of is an extreme first tattoo to some people, but it definitely goes along with the lines of Anthony's extreme decision making that he's going to continue to get into. Once Anthony finally was able to move out on his own, that's when he fully began his transformation into the Black Alien. So I'm going to go over all of the body modifications that Anthony has had thus far. So buckle up, because this is an absolutely long list. Anthony began his body modification journey with splitting his tongue. And I feel like that kind of tracks, because it seems like splitting your tongue is like a gateway into more extreme body mods. Not to say that splitting your tongue isn't extreme, but it's just a more subtle body modification that is not always seen. And I feel like when people split their tongue, they don't usually stop there. Anthony definitely did not stop there. He then got the underside of his tongue tattooed green. And I didn't know this prior to researching Anthony, but when you get the underside of your tongue tattooed, it's not a tattoo like how we would normally do them. It's an injection of ink, similar to eyeball tattoos. Anthony has several implants in his arms in this spiral pattern, and he has had many implants in his head area over the years. Anthony had his nose, lips, and ears removed, as well as 2 fingers amputated. You heard that right. This man amputated 2 of his fingers. Anthony said he just likes the look of a claw. So Anthony has also gotten the whites of his eyeballs tattooed, and they are now this like blue-green color, but originally they were tattooed black. And I was under the impression that once you tattoo your eyeballs black, there's no changing them for the rest of your life. But I guess I was wrong in thinking that, because Anthony now has this pretty vibrant green and blue color in his eyeballs. Maybe it's possible that Anthony's black faded over time, but I also don't think that that's the case with eyeball tattoos. But regardless, Anthony has said that he has experienced absolutely no vision issues. Anthony has covered the majority of his body with black ink tattoos in this textured blackwork style pattern that's similar to that of the Brutal Black Project. Anthony has also had his teeth sharpened and dyed various colors over the years. And on top of all of that, Anthony has had numerous scarifications done to his face. And that seems to be about it. Obviously, we can't know the extent of everything. He's had a lot of piercings over the years as well, but that seems to be the majority of his body modifications thus far. Anthony has become really popular online, sharing his transformation. On Instagram, he's amassed over 1 million followers who are actively awaiting updates on the Black Alien Project. I don't know if Anthony was posting prior to 2020, but the first post that's still on his page is from 2020, and this is it. In this post, Anthony said that he was just at 10% of his Black Alien transformation. And as you can see, he still has his nose and his lips in this photo. It's interesting to me how different Anthony looked back then, when he still had his nose and his lips. He looks a little bit more traditionally masculine, I think, with the nose and the lips still there. And he definitely looks a lot more alien without them. I just saw a comment that says that when he had his nose, he looked like handsome Squidward, which actually is so true. And to say that Anthony gets a lot of hate online is absolutely an understatement. Some people are completely outraged when they see what Anthony has done to his own body. Whoever is modifying him should be thrown in jail. I'm sorry, but someone has to have a mental disorder to do all of this. It's sad. God, please rid this man of the demon taking over him. In Jesus' name I pray. Deep down in his heart, I'm sure he's regretting all of these. And people are especially outraged when Anthony shows pictures of his before and the after of what he looks like now. In this Instagram post, Anthony shared a photo of what he looked like at 25, and he had no body modifications. I mean, aside from the earring, but obviously that's minor. And then what he looks like now at 35. And in the caption of this post, Anthony writes, "Men used to call me crazy, but science has not yet taught us whether madness is or not the sublime of intelligence." And this is an auto-translated caption, so the translation might not be perfect. But what I assume he's getting at is that so many people call him just absolutely crazy, but he's questioning, how do we know what's crazy and what's not? And in the comments of this post, people are just upset that he was, in their eyes, an attractive man, and he's done this to his body. Why? You were such a handsome man. You were so handsome, now you scare me. You was so fine before you did this to yourself. Am I wrong in thinking that the assumption there is that Anthony should now feel bad for how he looks because women don't find him attractive anymore? Is that not what most of those comments are getting at? Is Anthony only valued based on his attraction to others? In an interview with a Spanish newspaper in 2021, Anthony actually said that his transformations make him feel better about himself and his body. So while yes, it's extreme, and yes, many of us wouldn't go the lengths that he does, he is seemingly happy with how he looks, and he's not hurting anyone. In an interview with Channel 4 News, Anthony said that ever since he was little, he felt different. And deep down, he was unhappy because he felt he was not in the right body. Now, Anthony has some of the most extreme body modifications that you can get. And some of these are actually illegal in many countries around the world. Anthony sparked a lot of controversy when he initially got those 2 fingers amputated, and he actually got this done by a team of body modification artists. So none of these people had any professional medical training whatsoever, and they were led by body modification artist Gato Moreno. And they successfully amputated Anthony's fingers in kind of like a sketchy little studio environment. I'm assuming because they were so public about where this took place, that it must not be illegal in Mexico. But policing body modifications seems to be really difficult because a lot of this is happening underground and out of sight. Back in 2019, a big case made headlines when a body modification artist who goes by the name Dr. Evil, which I'm sure didn't help him in his sentencing because he ended up getting 40 months in jail for removing the ears off of someone who consented to this procedure, signed a waiver, and even paid for it. But the government was not okay with this because, believe it or not, Dr. Evil is not a real doctor. Back to Anthony. In the last year or so, he's been caught up in another body modification controversy, as it was reported that he wanted to amputate one of his very healthy and working legs. This was pretty widely reported, and obviously people were outraged because Anthony was thinking about essentially disabling himself for aesthetic purposes. But this may have been somewhat misreported. In an interview on The Wild Project with Jordy Wild, Anthony cleared this up and said that the rumors of him wanting to get his leg amputated were exaggerated. He said that he was just fascinated by robotic prosthetics, and he sees what he called bionic legs as beautiful. On the podcast, Anthony said that this was just a dream of his, just an idea, and he knows that he could never actually go about getting this done. And if you are curious about Anthony's modifications, there is one additional one that I just can't talk about here because of monetization purposes. But Jordy does talk about that in their interview. So this is a warning that it's extreme. As extreme, I think, as you can get. But if you're interested, you can watch that interview. With Anthony's case, many people are concerned, and they're particularly concerned for his mental health. They think that he's crossed a point of going too far. But with body modifications, it's hard to say where that line is, especially since Anthony seems to be a very capable adult who clearly is paying for these procedures and is able to live a very normal day-to-day life.
Represent all piercing, modification, tattoo culture.
When we were in the car, he was touching his implants. No, don't do it. Don't do it.
It doesn't seem like there's really anything wrong with him. But some people think that he's not making the right decisions and that he's not in the right state of mind. The YouTube channel Mente Humana speculates that Anthony may have a very rare psychological condition. The condition is called the Body Integrity Identity Disorder, and it's an incredibly rare phenomenon of persons who desire the amputation of one or more healthy limbs, or someone who desires a paralysis. I had no idea that this condition existed, but apparently it does, and it is extremely rare and specific. That YouTube channel also goes on to speculate that Anthony may be suffering from body dysmorphia. But realistically, we can't diagnose a man just from seeing pictures and videos of him on the internet. In an interview from 2 years ago, Anthony said that he has a clear vision for his final form. He just doesn't know when he will achieve it. And he also said that he has had no regrets with any of his procedures.
Toda la modificación que he hecho, yo lo he hecho con el gran profesional de la modificación.
Vale.
Entonces, no arrepiento nada.
However, that all seemed to change in December of last year. Anthony surprisingly posted a goodbye to body modifications on his Instagram account. In this shocking post, Anthony writes, "This project to which I gave everything, love, passion, determination, strength, has lost its meaning over the years. I did not expect it to have so much impact on the world. I did not know how to manage it, and my project has lost meaning." He goes on to explain that these two photos were taken 6 months apart, and he looks at the photo on the left and says that he sees a clearly lost child. And Anthony ended this post by saying, "I no longer want to touch my body or take anything off or put anything on. I am putting an end to the modification of my body for the moment. I no longer like this world. I'm going to finish my full black all over the body and finish for the moment like this. Goodbye, body modification." Pretty crazy switch up. And a lot of people were very surprised to hear this from Anthony. People speculated that Anthony regrets everything he's ever done, and it's finally come to a point where he's realized that. They also speculated that he might be under intense mental health issues, and they speculated that maybe there's a big change in his life. Like maybe he met a woman and he's turning his life around for her. And they may actually be right about that last one. 4 months ago, a video was uploaded to the Black Alien's new YouTube channel, and he's up in a tree with a woman holding the camera, and she even asks him, "Why did you leave body modifications? And was it for me?" For her. That's what she asked him. Anthony said now that he's 36 years old, he's tired of the changes, and he doesn't want to put his life at risk anymore, getting more and more extreme procedures. Anthony said people don't fully understand the risks of getting heavily modified so frequently, and he was dealing with a lot of pain that was affecting his day-to-day life. Anthony said he doesn't want to say that he's done forever, but for right now, he wants to focus on living and enjoying his life. And Anthony reiterates that he does not regret any of the modifications that he's had.
De verdad, me gusta mucho lo que hiciste. Yo no arrepiento.
No te arrepientes porque la gente piensa que al dejar ya te arrepentiste.
No, yo no arrepiento.
No sé por qué asumen eso.
Yo no arrepiento nada.
Ay, Dios mío.
Although it does seem like he has reversed a few of them. For instance, it seems like Anthony's head implants are almost all completely removed. He also has no more piercings anymore, and it seems like his teeth are more rounded out, although it's kind of hard to tell with the teeth. Honestly, I believe Anthony when he says that he's not living with regret. It seems like he's actually doing very well. When you see interview clips of him, he seems very well-rounded, very put together, and it really seems like he's turned a corner for the best. A couple of years ago, when Channel 4 interviewed him, he was living alone in a hotel in Guadalajara and seemingly struggling with others' perception of him. He said it was difficult for him to get a job and to get an ID. And when a woman told him he's going to hell for the way he looks, he kind of broke down a bit with the interviewer. But now he is working for a tattoo supply company, and he even started tattooing, and he's doing a great job. It seems like he has a really great and supportive girlfriend, and she even has started getting body modifications as well. At least it seems like it from the first video we saw, and then a more recent video she has one of her eyeballs tattooed. I find it hard to believe that he would be living with so much regret and then his partner goes and gets a pretty extreme modification. I could be wrong, but that's just how it seems. So does Anthony have regret, or is it just that Anthony's priorities are shifting and now he's focusing on just enjoying his life? I'm really happy for Anthony. It seems like he's doing incredibly well. I'm glad that he's not going through some of the extreme procedures that he thought about doing, and he can just focus on being a human being that looks a little bit out of this world. But with that, I would love to know what you think about the Black Alien project. Do you believe Anthony when he says that he's not living with regret, or do you not believe him? Also, do you have any extreme body modifications, and what has your experience been with that? Let me know in the comments down below. But if you've made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If you have, leave me this emoji in the comments so I know that you are a real one. Bye everyone.